Good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Carver. I'll be your host today. I'm a candidate for City Council in Helsinki from the Helsinki Greens. And I'm hosting this event, which is called Helsinki Needs International Talent. So we're talking about how to make Helsinki more attractive for international talent, how to make the labor market here more accessible for people already living here, and how to make Helsinki more inclusive. I'm happy to share the venue with three experts. So we have Aminkeng A Alemanji. He's from Akademi University currently. He's head of social exclusion master's program there. He's has a docent in sociology as well, and he does research also in University of Helsinki. Then we have Kamilla Sultanova, who is expert in international talent recruitment and retention. She's a public speaker and a mentor. And then we have Mikko Viltojärvi from ECO, where he works as an advisor. I'll let each of them present themselves and introduce themselves more in depth soon. We'll start with some opening statements from each of us about this topic, and then we'll go into a panel conversation. You'll have the opportunity to participate through the chat. So if you're following through Facebook or YouTube, we can see the comments you send to the broadcast. So that way we can see your comments and react to them as well. But we'll start the conversation with the opening statements, and I'll give the floor first to Mikko. Please, Mikko.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Thank you all. I'm Mikko Viltojärvi. I work at the EK, or Confederation of Finnish Industries, EK. It's what I don't know if anyone doesn't know what EK is. It's that we are the I would say leading business organization in Finland. Our member union, we have member unions from different fields of business, and our member organizations have companies, represent companies from different business sectors, and we're sort of an umbrella organization for Finnish businesses. I work at the as an advisor in team of competence and digitalization, and basically that means that we are dealing with the issues with skills, with digitalization, with innovation, research, immigration, everything that has something to do with the skilled labor or best talents. One of the our main reason to be is that we make sure that Finnish companies can recruit the best talents. That's what we do. My personal duties covers mostly educational policies in a broad manner. I do everything from comprehensive schools to the universities and to the research and innovation. Some immigration policies also with the foreign students, mainly with the foreign students. I've been working with the EK for a few years. I would say something like 2.5 to 3 years, less than 3 years, but more than 2.5 years to say. Before joining EK, I worked at the one trade union with similar duties. So the scope here is pretty familiar for me already. Some personal details. I live in Vantaa, so I can't vote for Eric at the municipal elections with my wife and my son and a dog. So that keeps me busy during the nights. So with the toddler-age son and a dog. Eric gave me a few questions what to tell you at this introduction session, and one was that why EK thinks that Helsinki and Finland needs more international talent. Why is it the important question for EK and Finnish industries? I would say that Finland and Finnish companies, we are facing a chronic lack of skilled labor. The amount of working age population is decreasing in Finland, as in most of the Western countries. And we are Finland and Finnish companies are facing major difficulties in finding skilled labor. I would say that only possible solution that I have discovered or even heard is to get more immigrants to Finland. We need, I don't know if this is enough. EK has stated that we should double the amount of work and study related immigration, but I'm not sure if that's enough in the long run. We might need even more than double the amount of immigration to Finland. And we know, of course, that Finnish society, Finnish companies as a whole, are not ready to integrate and recruit people without Finnish skills. The language skills is, I would say that it's we need way too good Finnish skills for employees, and we should do something with our companies. We should think wisely how good Finnish skills is needed in different jobs, and that is a reason why we started Stay in Finland campaign. With that campaign, we would like to encourage our member companies to recruit foreign students. The target group of the campaign is foreign students because we thought that it's an easy way to start with the students. They have been studying in Finnish universities, applied sciences. They have some connections to Finnish enterprises, Finnish companies, and they have studied because they can have help from the universities of applied sciences to find a job. So it's we thought that it would be a good way to start this process with foreign students first. But one thing that we encourage our member companies to think is the needed language skills. I would say that we have companies now in Finland who says that who says that all the employers has to speak Finnish, even though the need of the Finnish skills might be something like 30% or even less of the duties that one employee have. So we encourage our member companies to think how can they divide the task with the employers so that they can have a good employer who knows perfectly well, who can do perfectly well the 70% of the duties, but have some troubles with the 30% where they need Finnish skills. So I would say that the team work would do fine if there's a team with 3 persons who speak Finnish and 1 who doesn't. The 3 persons can take care of the 30% where the Finnish language is needed, and the 1 who doesn't speak Finnish can take care of the other people's job for that matters. But that's what we like to do. We know that we need a lot more immigrants. We know that we need immigration and we need foreign talent here in Finland, but we have to be more open for them, to have them feel welcome and have them working for us. And I see there's a few questions for me. How do you like, Eric? Should I take these questions now or later?
Maybe we'll do the opening round first and then
okay, get back to the questions.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks.
Kamilla, please.
All right. Well, hi, everyone. I'm from Vuosaari in Helsinki. That's Eastern Helsinki for you. And great to everyone is watching. I can see people are from Oulu and Joseph and Michael there. Dasha. So my name is Kamilla Sultanova, and I work as a consultant on diversity inclusion. I'm an absolute advocate of mentoring as to really build belonging in the new community, be it Finland or Denmark, where I studied before. And just to say a few words, this whole event that's happening, I'm just so happy that it's in English, because I started my political participation as a student coming from Uzbekistan in Denmark. And at the time, in Denmark, there has been so little content in English, and I was dead curious just to see. I've never voted in my country because I left that when I was 18. So like, what is it really about? So just that whole idea, Eric, that you're having this, I think it's a big, big plus to really walk the talk on policy level, but also what do we want from cities? And I'm a fan of cities to really reach out to us as active citizens. I started my career in diversity inclusion just 3 years ago. Before that, I had a career in shipping. So there's 3 C's defining me. 1 is communications background from Aarhus University. 2, I've been a container trader for most of my previous career and dealing with container sales, secondhand container sales in 28 countries. And 3, turn to change maker, because I wanted to work on making this diversity inclusion tangible in the workplaces, but also in the society. So I moved here 7 years ago. I'm a proud Eastern Helsinkilainen, and what I do is not only work in different ecosystems, such as Talent Boost, to bring in all these services from the public stakeholders to make diversity as a wanted, but also matchmaking students at Hank International talent program, and working with Haaga-Helia University of Applied Sciences, Aalto, Helsinki University, Metropolis, and Laurea. So there's a lot going on. For me, as also having the international student background, gives me quite a nice, like, immersive understanding why should internationals be also part of planning services for other internationals, right? We always say in Finland, as an export-oriented country, we need to have, people who represent our customer base. So speaking languages, knowing the culture of export markets is just paramount to creating revenue. And I think the same way is one of the ways to really succeed with job matchmaking on different platforms. There is public employment services like TE-toimisto, there is private employers like Finder Seekers, Point Your Potential. So all of these different employment providers, they need to represent their customer base. That is us, that is international spouses, talents, immigrants, even Finnish repatriates. This is something really new right now, that this year there is almost 9,500 Finns repatriated as never before, because usually it's been like, people would immigrate, but now they immigrated and now they're coming back. And they're struggling with several challenges that we all do being from abroad. So my key take on this, cities need to deliver on policies which are done on national level. And how do we do that? I think it's my can do is just to make sure there's more success stories, recognizing talents. There's more talent pools. We have a lot of NGOs from Oulu to Turku to really showcase there is different mentoring networks that are now used as a tools for integration and employment. There's volunteering, which is untapped for English speakers. And I just sent an email to Helsinki cities thinking that how do we promote volunteering for social capital, networks, exchange in English? Because NGOs, they also need help as Finnish companies to recognize why they need to offer volunteering in English, right? And then the other things that we hope for from the cities is to represent and walk the talk from what is needed, as like we want international students in jobs, we want local immigrants in jobs, local people who grew up here, that there should not be, dividing of different target groups, because it could be actually a better narrative to say we have all kinds of people who want Finland, and we need to live up the social mobility from the school, having a proper representation of career counselors who will, guide students to their better jobs, but also representation of students of different ethnic backgrounds in universities. And then the same thing, better strategies and more awareness where to find talent locally in every region, because in every region we have lots of different talent needs, from Natpes to Turku to Tampere. and also Helsinki region. So lots of seeing, believing narrative we need, much more commitment from the city to also walk the talk, more commitment from trade unions, and more commitment from student organizations representing student society and student well-being. So these are just one of the interest statements, but I'm just a paranoid optimist, and I think next 10 years it's going to be all about internationals. So we're just getting started.
Thank you, Kamilla. And then Amin.
Hello, my name is Amin. I am a researcher at the University of Helsinki, and I also work at the Akademi as head of the program for Masters in Social Exclusion. I'm here to I'd like to start by telling you a story. 12 years ago, I stepped foot into Finland the first time, and I was picked up at the airport by two of my friends. Now, during the short drive from the airport before we got home, I was told about one Finnish reality. I was told that as a Black person in Finland, there were only 3 different kinds of jobs available for me. I could be a cleaner, I could be a dishwasher, I could be a post delivery person. I could work for Posti and deliver papers at night. And that's where the ceiling is for a Black person. Now, I was coming in as an international student. But one of the things I was also coming in to Finland as was that I was coming in as a Black person. And at that point, I began to realize that being an international student, or being international and being Black, are 2 things that sometimes are not really compatible. The idea of international in Finland, the way from what I've observed and researched, is that it is often seen as also very white, because the non-white people who exist, not non-white people, Black and brown people in Finland, view international have a story of internationalization in Finland, which is extremely very different than what other white immigrants or international talented people are. For example, when I came into Finland during my first year in Finland, I did one quick realization. I was trying, because I was told then that I could only work at these 3 jobs. One of the things I wanted to do very quickly, I set out to do very quickly, was I wanted to identify where are the international people working. And I realized that there were 2 kinds of people. There were the Finnish expats, there were the expats immigrants, and then there were immigrants like us who cleaned. I quickly started asking myself one question. The immigrants who look like me, we clean the restaurants, we work as dishwashers, and we actually do the main job, most of the main jobs in Finland. That's where we belong. But then I realized there was also a different group of immigrants, of international people, or people with international talent, or people with international background, who live in Finland who go with the title expats. And then I realized that this group also had worked in a very different kind of setting. Now, the first group, the people who look like me, when they come in here, they're educated, they're told that you need to go learn Finnish, study Finnish, go through the integration process. And even when you go through the integration process, you can only become a bus driver. You can only work as in a nursing homes. But then there's the other group of people who do not speak Finnish. They come as experts. They're the ones who work in big industries, in big firms, and they work with big titles. These people are not obliged to speak Finnish. These people can and do succeed in Finland without Finnish language. I'm not saying Finnish language isn't important, but I'm just saying that with these 2, when I compare these 2 groups of people, one of the people existed at the top and the other existed at the bottom. I made up a mind. I decided to do one thing. I asked myself, which of these 2 people do I want to identify with? Where do I want to belong? I choose to belong to the expert group. So by doing that, I forfeited my chance to learn Finnish. I didn't go to a Finnish language school. I didn't go to a Finnish language class. I realized that there was another path to success, because the way success was being sold to me, is being sold to most immigrants. The path to success is come and study Finnish, and then you get a job, you get an amati, and you do something, but then I realized that was a path that was set for me by Finland. but I had to create my own path by trying to become an expert. So if I look at that and I compare it to the gatekeeping mechanisms that actually identify who is an international expert in Finland, we also have to look at, I have a lot to comment on that. For example, presently I'm working in, I work with different people who are applying to come to Finland to study as international students. One of the biggest things or shocks that I've realized is that in most of Finnish universities, especially all the universities in Helsinki, one of the biggest gatekeeping mechanism is what we call English language test. People who have studied all their lives in their different countries in English language, as long as they're not from the EU countries, UK, Britain, New Zealand, South Africa, they are obliged. They need to submit an English language test result, which that test has to be done by an American or British company to prove that they can speak English, even though these are people who were colonized by most English by a lot of the Europeans, and they have been forced to give up their local languages for English language. The gatekeeping mechanism at that level shifts us who or helps to divide the different groups of international talent in Finland, and that is where the discriminatory practices begin. Thank you.
Thank you, Amin. I think there's a lot to unpack here, and it's an hour, so maybe some things will be left unsolved at the end of the conversation. But very, very grateful for the opening statements from all of you. I think, just from my perspective, why do I want to talk about this? Why do I see this issue as so important? I think there's three things. First is values. Equality of everybody who is in Finland. How do we make the Finnish labor market work for everybody here, including, of course, Helsinki, and Helsinki is the issue we're talking about. I came to this issue as a career counselor. I personally have a multilingual, multicultural background. I'm half American, half Finnish, but I lived here most of my life. I did all my schooling in Finland. And so I don't have that immigrant background or that experience to rely on. But I work a lot with the international students at the University of Helsinki as a career counselor. And there's maybe three things or four things I want to mention from that experience from this opening before we go into the panel. First, I think is this disconnect between the spoken policy level talk of we need more immigration, we need, the labor force is shrinking, Finland's getting older, and the disconnect that I saw my students face in the labor market as they were looking for work. And two terms that they use that issue already mentioned here is that they can study, they can do their business, have their hobbies, friendships within the so-called English bubble, where you can do your things and live your life comfortably. But then as you start looking for work, many face the so-called Finnish firewall, the language requirement. Not everybody, like Amin said, there's a lot of work in big corporations, for example, in Finland, within the English bubble. Universities, great examples where you can work and have a career without the Finnish skill. But then there's a lot of jobs where that requirement is high, and as Mikko said, maybe not always with good reason. And then the third issue, I think, is something that Amin already touched upon, which is that there is, we know with research, discrimination and bias and also racism in the Finnish labor market. So we know in research has shown that if Eric Carver, with a foreign sounding name, looks for work, and there's an exact same CV and experience for Erkki Karvonen, Erkki Karvonen is a lot more likely to be invited for an interview than Eric Carver with exact same CV and experience. That's just discrimination. So that's something to look at. So how do we make our policy and our big goals, like Mikko stated, we all know we need immigration. We know we need talented workers in different fields in our industry and in the public sector in the future. How do we make that policy goal actualized in real people's lives so they can find work and education opportunities here? So that's maybe kind of the opening remarks I have. We have some comments from the participants, but there's maybe 3 themes that I would like us to go through, and then we can also comment on the comments or the questions we have had. So the first question that we were looking at when we were setting up this event was how to make Helsinki more attractive and accessible and inclusive in terms of how do we make this thing work in a better way. And we'll start the round of comments from Ami, please.
Thank you, Eric. I think that the Helsinki that we see today is very different from the Helsinki I saw 12 years ago when I came here. We are progressing. We are progressing. I think some of this progress is not. It's been forced towards by forces of globalization. One of the things I like to recommend is that we need to be able to understand and acknowledge that there is a problem, because a lot of times I see that people do not acknowledge that there is a problem with regards to diversity, integration, and how to include or bring in the others. And once we can start by identifying that there is a problem, then it's easier for us to sit down and have a discussion. We can think of it also at the level of policy. How can we make policies more inclusive? I am I'm one of the people who I hate this issue of language. You know, people I see it as a tool that's been used to discriminate against the other. For example, when I was doing my research in Finland, people questioned me and said, and they questioned me by asking, how can I do research in Finland when I do not speak Finnish language? And I always tell them that the history of the continent where I come from, Africa, is written by whites who never spoke the language of the natives. And we know no one questions that. I also say that there are always 2 different perspectives. There is the insider's perspective and the outsider's perspective. For a company, for a firm, for anything that you're working on, for it to work perfectly, for it to work best, you have to have people who can understand these 2 different paradigms, the insider's perspective and the outsider's perspective. So inclusive practices or inclusive policies has to be made or has to be seen as essential qualities for the good of every company within the city of Helsinki.
Kamilla, you want to weigh in?
Yeah. Well, I think Amin has really a big point, a big elephant in the room. We don't speak the same language. So when you're matchmaking talents and trying to promote, from university to companies or from companies to, chambers of commerce, everyone has a very different jargon. And it's the success of this is really to understand the different needs of different stakeholder groups to be successful. But when we're working right now in silos, and this is my way to show it, that we need to break the silos. Who is integrating, who is recruiting, and how we transform the way we work is really cross-sectoral collaboration, because not even funding mechanism has to change. I just been participating in City Lab Bloomberg, organized by Bloomberg last week in New York, and it was online, gathering city mayors from all over the world. There were activists, there were policymakers, there were urban designers, and they were talking about the whole public procurement system. Now, if we look at the way we work, there is need for internationalization. There is a lot of, Espoo, Vantaa, Helsinki there, I think Espoo already has English as a service language. Yeah. And so does Helsinki. I saw a lot of ads in English. So offering that is one thing, but procurement is still demanding everything in Finnish and Swedish. So we have 35 billion euro of public procurement size in Finland. That's 35 billion, which a lot of that would go to internationalization practices, right? So even if we want to include and make inclusive policies, which Amin is talking about, I think we need to challenge why we need to require Finnish Swedish for the part that actually addresses success KPIs for international talents or for immigrants to be part of this whole, policy implementation. The second thing I want to address is I'm part of European Young Leaders in Brussels, and feeling European helped me becoming this European identity through this network helped me also feel stronger in Finland when I moved here from Denmark. Because I had to still start over. I went to language school. I was depressed in a language school because the way we've been treated, and it was, in fact, I did clean, I did work in a bar, I did babysit, I did newspaper delivery, I had done everything. But luckily, this was for me a pit stop job. It wasn't something I have to do for life. And we have those people who are whole life do just one thing, right? So there's no social mobility. And so in that sense, what I wanted to bring up there is to what kind of role models or what are the opportunities we promote already in language schools, in those integration centers. And that kind of disconnect is missing. So thank you for bringing that, Eric, in. I'm part of university collaborations, and you can see different practices. There's lots of universities that have alumni corporations, but University of Applied Sciences, they don't have alumni cooperation. So kind of, utilize peer-to-peer or bring in people who could really, raise each other up, having the different background, international background or immigrant background. And yes, last summer, because of the Black Lives Matter, it took all our causes like way faster. And you can see on LinkedIn, there is so much more visibility on these topics, including today. I think there was something about, demographics is really pushing, and we have 40,000 people looking for jobs in Finland locally already. So it's important to see what's being done, but also being visible on writing these things, being open about this, and writing blogs. So I wrote a blog on how all Finnish universities need to kind of wake up to recognize the problem. And the good thing is, Minister of Employment, she said it, Tuula Haatainen, was it like last month, right? She said, yes, there is discrimination in a Finnish job market. And once you say it, you can't get away from it, right? And so we can actually see now what are the ambitions to utilize this, because the work doesn't discriminate. It's the recruiting practices that do, and the hidden job market. So for that job market, hidden job market, I think this is where I bring in this volunteering, sports, and community building, because this how you get to know local Finns, also from university stage or from school stage and at work. So we need to, build up our Finnishness and localize ourselves. So I think volunteering or civic engagement is very important to feel connected to Finnish business and just Finnish society.
Make your thoughts.
Forget to unmute. What more there is to say after Kamilla and Ami? Well, what I thought I would say is that, what Helsinki and what Finland can do. If Finland and Helsinki is struggling, or they're competing with the international talents against cities and towns like maybe Warsaw, Stockholm, Copenhagen, Munich, Vancouver, and it might be so that we have some strengths which are really attractive. Maybe the main target group isn't the 20-something singles. Our high tax rates, our cold climate, and dark winters are probably not the most attractive ones for them. But if we have decent services in English as well, Finland could be the primary location for 30-something families. We have good schools, we have safe environments, we have clean environment as well, and we should focus on those strengths that we have, make them better. And I have always thought that the Espoo's way of having the English as service language is a good thing. But like Kamilla said, it's not enough. We should improve with that. But I would say that we should focus on the strengths that we have and make them better. We must be able to have kindergarten places or the school places for families that in English that are coming here in Finland as an experts. And we need to make sure that every single kid in Finland will have a good education. That's the main reason. Even if it's in Finnish or it's in Swedish or it's in English, but we need to have a good quality education in every single school in Finland. That's something that we need to make sure. What should be the making Helsinki and Finland attractive for foreign talents.
I think there's a lot of these issues, maybe, again, going back to 10 years ago, and I agree with Amin that there's a lot of progress in terms of services, International House Helsinki. There's a lot of City of Helsinki and other cities have really invested in the quality of the services and also the language that's offered that you can use the services. I think Amin has a very valid point about the language skill. And everybody's pretty has covered that already. So having access to services, to what's going on in English is very important, of course. But then in the hiring process, I think it's legitimate for companies to, if there are actually jobs that require Finnish, that they do require that. I don't think there's a way to kind of make them change that. But can we be more creative in the way the English bubble and the Finnish firewall interacts? Should be there more space in between? So if there's a job opening, which at some point would require Finnish, but maybe not right away or not at a high level, will be there more openness from the employer side to say, okay, you have the skill set that we need, you have the talent we require, we'd like you to speak Finnish, but maybe you're not there yet. Maybe we can help you, maybe through in 1 or 2 years, the language training to go alongside of the work. Because a lot of the messages I've gotten from people that have gone through the language training courses that you don't want to be outside of the labor market for a year. You don't want to be, on hold with your career just to learn Finnish. So I think there should be more flexibility there. So that would be one. The second one is the recognition of skills and experience and education that's outside of Finland. Now, again, I would look into the employer side, but also public policy, that we would respect and understand the experience that people and skills that people are coming with to Finland. And like Kamilla said, there's a lot of Finns that come back from a 10-year or 20-year round in another country. They come back and they face the same issue, that their experience is not recognized maybe in the Finnish labor market. And I think the third issue that I think if you think about attractiveness is something that Mikko said. We need to have public services, daycare, schools that work for everybody. And that means that you can study in English in some cases, but if you choose to go to a school that is in Swedish or Finnish, that you have resources, as City of Helsinki does, that you can study your own native language as well, alongside Finnish or Swedish as you do schooling, so that you can have that, use your own language skill and develop that as well. So those are just a few things that come to mind. Is there something you want to comment that the other person said or is in the chat so far?
I would say one thing about, go ahead.
Yeah.
No. Well, okay. Thank you, Mikko. I think I agree with you, Eric. I agree with what everyone in the chat has been saying. I think one of the danger here is if we leave things in the hands of individuals, and so that individuals can decide whether you can look at the language skills and try to find a way to create an inclusive policy. Yes, for me that's a big danger, because I've worked with people and I know people. A lot of people I'm very skeptical. A lot of people are not invested in making that effort, because they don't see the reason why they should make that effort. So, but I think that if the companies, if industries actually put it as one of their missions, that they can be held accountable by saying that we will do this and we will do this and we will do that and we will do that within the next 2, 3, 4 years. So they can, and then they'll have to show that they have been doing this and that and that. But if you say that, if we leave this in the hands of individuals, I'm really suspicious of how much progress we can make with regards to building an inclusive Helsinki based on the exclusionary language practices or language system that we have at the moment.
Nick.
You both, Amin and Eric, you both said that Helsinki has progressed a lot during the last 10 years or 10 or 15 years. I heard that one of my colleagues said that when you go outside of Helsinki, so the northern Finland or eastern Finland, it's like Helsinki 15 years ago. So that gives, if you go to Oulu or you go to Rovaniemi or you go to Joensuu, you can see what the Helsinki was like 15 years ago. And when you see Helsinki today, and you think about the progress that Helsinki will have with the next 15 years, I see it as a bright side for the future. So we're going in the right way, but of course we have a way to go still.
One of the issues that we want to talk about is how do we actually support people living here with an international background find work. Kamilla, you work in this field. I used to work in that field. How would you frame the conversation? What would you highlight, Kamilla?
Yes. So just to be clear, I am paranoid optimist, but if I had to start looking for a job with my, let's say, Finnish skills B1, I still probably would have to struggle. So that's also a reason I'm working with the consulting and speaking. I really enjoy to kind of, be this changing social mindset and try to see, take those proof of evidence that there's so many success stories out there. There's so many, immigrants and internationals that can live life fully in Finland. So having said that, I've been screening hundreds of websites of Finnish employers in Hunk International Talent. So I've done work for them, and it's an amazing demand-led initiative by long-standing CEO of Wärtsilä, Finnish giant. Ole Johansson, he has supported producing this, coming up with this initiative and giving the top commitment from the company to find mentors who would look at the students, who will engage them, and later actually they would hire them. So it was this way of building connection during the school studies. And we have seen it starting from 2017, and now we already have 4 groups of students joining in. And the results from the first 2 years show that there is, 84% employment rate, 50% employed those students who took part in the program, 50% employed by those mentoring collaborator companies, and 90% retention rate. So of course, it's not the same about every university, because Hunken has its own competencies, Hunk School of Economics, and then we have other universities with different degrees. The way to find work, I do work with, as a speaker outside this Hunk and Heat project, is that working with policy advisors, you say, okay, you need to promote empowerment in those policy briefs and bringing in, 30% or more people with different backgrounds, so those minorities stop being minorities. And it doesn't necessarily be internationals and immigrants. It should be those people with change maker profiles who can actually implement, because Finns are very good at building processes, but when ideas go to die is when it has to be implemented. And it's sometimes about just picking up the phone and calling employers. There's not many. I'm doing basically a sales job. I have an Excel sheet full of talents, and then I call companies and say, listen, I think you have a company need for this talent. Would you be interested? And you need to adapt that offering, right? So because I've been shaped by lots of mentors in Denmark and Finland, I also really passionate to work for this mentoring program, talent management program. But also for students, we need to say, you need to build your local self. And it's starting like a kindergarten. I've been here 7 years, so I'm 7 years of experience. So I could grow my awareness and understanding of Finnish, and there's nothing wrong with learning a language where you live. I don't think that it doesn't take you far, but takes you further when you say, hey, mitakulo, you know, just giving an effort. But yes, there is racism. There is people who are not replying your emails. There's people who basically, you know, it's a hidden job market. So what I say is that right now, the best case scenario for internationals is to tap into public channels. So it's chambers of commerce in your city. It's cities who want to publish your success story or want to give you an Instagram takeover. Everything you do, you just need to get a platform and get your voice heard, get your profile heard, do something that has a beginning and the end, doesn't have to be paid, but still you need to like just showcase yourself as someone who has passion and interests. So it's not enough to have a degree. There is competition. There's people, you know, from China and India knocking on doors. I mean, everyone wants to be in Finland on that sense, like, you know, all very high specialist labor. So I think as policymakers, you need to promote really empowering discourse in that, and not just to fix the immigrants or migrants. And then you have the students, build your digital presence. That's how I say it. One of the things is that, how do you build communities? You know, are you just there, you know, showing off yourself on LinkedIn, or are you actually making a difference in your local community? Then you have universities, how you promote your talent pool. And then you have companies, how do companies show commitment to either Black Lives Matter or to promote their own recruitment, to say, we want to work with this talent group. We will require access to these different talent groups. We have even NGOs like International Working Women of Finland. They are doing lots of stuff. So we cannot have, let's say, while having so much money put into projects on public side, we cannot have NGOs solving these big issues, you know? So there has to be a way of collaborating together. So where the last point comes in with cross-sectoral collaboration is that TE-toimisto, so the public employers, they can tap into the NGO networks who have the talents. And then companies can also work with NGOs or with artists. I love the way how we need to promote artist work in the city, in the media. And you think like, yeah, what does artists have to do with my job search? But I think it's important to showcase the truth through storytelling. And I think we don't always want to be defensive that someone is doing wrong thing, but it's a collective effort. And I think artists, when they come in here, especially at the time, they can really showcase that through, I don't know, mural art, being part of these kind of webinars, you know, laugh it off. We have stand-up comedians talking on these different issues, or bringing in, you know, theater production. Urban APA is an amazing platform showcasing, being Urban APA is a multidisciplinary art program, also promoting diversity inclusion. So a lot of stuff is done, but at this moment, COVID is a big sucker. So it doesn't mean we should forget all the internationals because everyone's same boat. It just has to be done with equity, giving extra effort, support to those who need that, and then really building on that equality through action plans and equality action plans that are required by the state.
Mikko, you have ECO is active with the state campaign. How are you supporting or encouraging companies to be more inclusive in their hiring?
Well, I would say that our companies are stating that they're facing lots of problems with issues that with the lack of labor. They need more skilled labor. During the almost 3 years that I worked with the EK, I haven't met any employer who would say that we have enough labor. We have no problems finding skilled labor, and if we open a position, we will have the person we would like to be there. But almost everyone is complaining that it's so hard to find employees. It's so hard to find skilled labor. It's so hard to find people who could work here. I say to the companies, have you seen the foreigners living in Finland, or the foreign students, or foreign graduates from Finland? And most of them say that yes, we have. We are already employing also foreign staff here in Finland. But still, there's lack of talent. I'm pretty sure, and I'm sure that there is problems that go deeper. But there's also problems that our education system doesn't provide the skills needed for the employment, and that's also a problem with the native Finnish, because there's something with our system. It's probably something to do with the education system. It might be something to do with our other services, but there's a great mismatch between employers and job seekers. We have at the same time a great number of people finding job. Finnish highly educated nationalities, native Finnish nationalities with high education, and they are looking for jobs. They are looking for jobs for many years. And at the same time, with the same fields of expertise, we have companies looking for skilled labor. And for some reason, those doesn't match. I don't know what's the reason. It's not just the foreigners, it's also with Finns. But as I said before, the main reason that what our member companies are saying is the lack of the Finnish skills. And I'm telling them that you should think how to solve the problem with the Finnish skills. You could have a really good employee without Finnish skills at the beginning, and they could learn the Finnish if needed during the time that they are working. Our public system, the main weakness with our public language system is that it might require persons to give up the job that they have, because they have to take the Finnish lessons during the working hours. We have heard the stories about those kind of immigrants who don't have yet the permanent residence, and they find a way to have the Finnish courses, and they are taking I'm not sure how do you call it in English, but the immigration services that provide the language training, and they have to give up their job to participate on those Finnish language lessons. So we need more flexibility there. It's good that they have jobs. It's good that we provide them Finnish skills. It's of course there's nothing wrong to provide the Finnish skills for them, but it has to be flexible so that they can take part in the Finnish lessons and have a job at the same time. It can't be so that someone has to give up the job to take part in the Finnish lessons. But with the employment of foreigners in Finland, the networks are so important in the Finnish labor market. I'm not sure if it's the same thing in every country, but the highest number that I have heard is something between 70 and 80% of the positions in Finland are never open. So there's never open application for the job. Right. 70 to 80%. And that goes to the people who have the networks, who know people who know the people. And of course, the foreigners, we've been speaking about the English bubble and the Finnish firewall, so to say. And one key message that I would have, that we need to break those bubbles so that the English speaking or the foreigners would have better networking opportunities and find the jobs in Finnish labor market.
As I said,
can I add something?
Yeah.
Mikko, you talked about Finnish language.
Yeah.
There is Lari Numinen, Chief Marketing Officer. He's been going after Finnish employers, promoting jobs in English, but then they're writing with small letters, you need to speak Finnish, right? So what he said as a constructive critique, saying that, are you going to offer them Finnish language instruction? And for the matter, I know from Denmark that Scandic Hotel has actually offered Danish skills to their employers for employee retention. I know it's not for everyone to work in that field, but I really believe that, there should be integration happening on the job. And so Finns, I mean, those companies could also consider giving that Finnish classes on the job. So it is employee retention is a big issue also when hiring foreign labor, because of course they're a bit afraid. And then if the first one hired doesn't stay, they'll be like, yeah, to hell with it. So we need to kind of be a way of selling the talents with an idea that people have to give each other a chance and skills.
I was just going to point out that, as I said in the opening statement, an hour might not solve all our problems, and we're getting close to the end. I would want Amin to start our round briefly, please. What kind of policy or big ideas you would want to leave the listeners, and maybe a particular candidate for city council, that being me? So what things would you highlight in either increasing the attractiveness of Helsinki or the accessibility of the labor market or the inclusion? So what kind of concrete methods or ideas would you want to kind of leave the audience today with? Amin, you want to start?
Concrete. Well, one of the things for me, the biggest challenge has always been with regards to the language issue, because I feel like that's a big bridge between the labor market and a lot of international talent, because there is always a huge expectation placed on language. So, like Mila just said, that if employers would actually create this kind of setting where you can learn the language at the job, that would really help to bridge the gap between the English-speaking employers, who are oftentimes the international employees, and the employers. I think that's very important.
Kamilla.
I want to highlight, there's a comment in what I've said, Martin, Eric, thank you for your comment, saying that the Finnish on the job is exactly how integration of foreign workers envision in policy. It's up to employers to hire language school for their foreign employers. I mean, yes, it's written and done, but I guess it's still, you need to build a business case. And I will tell you that, even Finns are suffering to get a job. Let's say if they come from Tampere, nobody's got to hire them in Pori, because they'll say, there is also territorial discrimination, like in France, like in Uzbekistan and Finland. I was shocked that even there is that kind of way attitude. So if you think of, their own Finns could be looked at like through the lens. So how would you then consider hiring someone, plus not even talking from abroad, but someone who is locally? So I think still that there needs to be more visibility of people being employers hiring the students, the talents, the immigrants, the spouses, and just really bringing that forward. I've done like in 1.5 years with Honken team, there's been filmed around 15 videos. We done endorsements by Bartele recruiters. We've done endorsement by big 4 consulting companies, small, middle-sized companies. Then I want to also highlight Sonia's comment. Sonia says internship is misused for getting pair of hands free of charge. Wrong. I'll tell you one of the success stories in COVID. One student got an unpaid internship. 3 months later, he got a full-time job while everyone else was laid off. Why? Because he got his crazy competencies in hospitality management and IT, and the company pivoted a new business solution while everyone else was, on furlough, right? So I think at some ways also talents need flexibility. I did 10 years volunteering. I met freaking Barack Obama for doing that, because I believe in community building and building up yourself. So it's not working for everyone. You don't need to do 10,000 hours volunteering, but you need to be intentional where you're going with this and where you want to be positioning yourself. Is it NASDAQ? Then go and offer your help to NASDAQ. Is it in pharma industry? Check out what's in Turku. Or if you want to do in export careers, go and contact the embassy and get the list of companies which has company to contact to your country. And you're going to be most wanted person if you have the export sales skills, right? So it's not about nagging and demanding things. I know that it bugs me to see crap, nasty articles and a lot of stuff like nagging on different think tanks. Even think tanks are not to be trusted these days. So, but really bring in your change perspective, but also for universities, for trade unions, for student associations, build in that commitment to represent students, represent internationals. And on the important side is also for the students and internationals themselves, use Helsinki, use Finland as an open source. You can register your own association and make your voices heard. But I do want to really highlight that the amount of money people get on regions, on city level, on public employment should not be misused in a sense of lacking diversity in their own teams, because we see startup refugees are doing a great job building, employing, and finding stories. We see international working women interviewing employers and bringing perfect content on YouTube. So we cannot have this UK form of that NGO should address these needs. We have a welfare society, and that welfare money, which are taxpayers' money, should be used for the proper KPIs. And I think ethnic cultural diversity is a good start to have in those public employment services implementation.
Mikko, any final thoughts?
Any final thoughts for you as a candidate for the municipal elections? Just keep arranging meetings like this. Meet people, listen to people, listen to different kinds of people. Yes. That's the most important thing that you as a city candidate or elected could do. It has been, I have learned so much during this conversation, and I believe I'm not the only one here. So just keep arranging things like this. It's the best thing that you can do.
Yeah, and run for office next time, right? I think we also need more internationals running and immigrants running for office.
Thank you for that. And I just want to thank everybody in the panel for sharing your expertise. And I could see us talking another hour, but I think it's fair to the participants and also fair to you that we don't extend the time a lot. Maybe if that's okay, I would maybe close with some thoughts about the conversation. My hopes for tonight was that we would be honest. We would talk about the issues, the problems that this issue has. We did that. Constructive was the other thing I was hoping for. So look for solutions, think about what we could do. And I think, at least for me, we have a change now in the way employment services are done for immigrants. So the city of Helsinki, like many cities in Finland, are now part of the local government pilots on employment. We have, increased and better services than we did 10 years ago. So my hope for people watching today or watching this later with an immigrant background, to share your experiences of how those services work. Are they working for you? Is there something that could be improved? I think the employers should lead in the way they do hiring and how the language issue and the language skill development is done. Not to say that NGOs don't play a role or the city doesn't play a role. The talent boost program by the ministries and the government is very important. That funds a lot of the good stuff that's going on. But without employers leading the way and say, we talk about needing international talent, we will hire international talent. We will make that work. It's very important, I think. And then maybe to conclude is something that goes beyond just the employment thing, and that's the inclusiveness and inclusivity of Helsinki and all the institutions, NGOs, employers, and others. And that just takes a lot of work. But it's just great to see leaders like Kamilla and Amin step into the fray and talk about these and look for solutions. So I'm really thankful for your contribution today, and hope to talk with you again, and hope to get comments. And a lot of the comments might be we have to answer after this event because there were so many. So I want to thank you, Mikko, Amin, and Kamilla, and everybody who was watching, and for all of your comments. And let's be in touch.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yes. Yes, and I hope you will answer the comments. I'd also try go in. There are some personal ones which were topical. Yeah. It was really great talking to you. Let's do it again.
Let's do it again. Okay. Have a good one.
Bye. Be safe.